Hello everyone, welcome back to the Java tutorial series. In this video, we will learn about nested loops in Java and we will see how they are used to perform repeated operations within another loop. So let's get started. So what are nested loops? A nested loop is simply a loop placed inside another loop. So, nested loop is a loop placed inside another loop. So, let's say we have for loop with some conditions and increment, and inside for loop we have another for loop. So, this is the syntax of nested loops. So, the inner loop executes completely. So, this one is the inner loop. Inner loop, and this one is outer loop. So the inner loop executes completely for each iteration of the outer loop. So suppose outer loop executes twice, that is two times, based on the condition and these things. Outer loop will execute two times. So, and inner loop condition is such a way that it will execute, let's say, three times. Now, the inner loop executes completely for each iteration of the outer loop. So, outer loop will execute two times. That means for first time, this is outer loop. Outer loop. When outer loop will execute for first time, inner loop will execute three times. Then, when outer loop will execute for second time, inner loop will again execute for three times. So, outer loop runs first. So, outer loop will run first, and for every iteration, that is first, second, and so on, the inner loop executes completely for each iteration of outer loop. So, let's say outer loop iteration is two times. So, for each time, the inner loop iteration will iterate completely three times. And for second iteration of outer loop, again three times iteration of inner loop. So inner loop executes completely for each iteration of outer loop. I hope it is clear now. Let's see one example in IntelliJ. So, nested loops. Let's say, for example, for int I equals to 1, I less than equals to 3, I plus plus, and we have inner loop for int j equals to 1, j less than equals to 2, and j plus plus. And let's print I plus space plus j. So this one is outer loop and this is inner loop. So we are iterating outer loop from 1 to 3 and inner loop from 1 to 2. That means outer loop will execute 3 times and inner loop will execute 2 times. So think of it like outer loop command. Outer loop act as a row and inner loop act or work as a column. Okay, so outer loop will execute, let's say output. Since outer loop will execute 3 times, okay, and outer loop act as a row. I hope you are aware of row and column. So row is the horizontal one and the column is the vertical one. So outer loop will execute 3 times starting from 1 to 3. So this is one row and the second row and the third row. Think of it like this. This is first row, second row, third row. So this is the job of outer loop, to run 3 times. Now, so these are the 3 iterations for outer loop. And for each iteration of outer loop, the inner loop will execute 2 times. So for each row, we will have 2 column values. Since it will iterate 2 times, inner loop will iterate 2 times. So one will be 1 and for another value of inner loop, that is 2. Likewise, we will be having 2 1 and 2 2. Here also 1 3 2. So as you can observe, the outer loop will execute 3 times. 3 times in the sense 3 values of I, that is I equal to 1, I equal to 2 and I equal to 3. But for I equal to 1, the inner loop, that is j, will execute 2 times, and the value of j will be 1 and 2. So think of it like this is I and j. So I is 1 2 times, j is 2 2 times, and j is 3 2 times. So I is 1, I is 2, I is 3 because of outer loop, and because of inner loop, for each iteration it will execute 2 times, and value of j will be 1 and 2. So see, j is 1 and 2 for I equal to 1, j is 1 and 2 for I equal to 2, and j is 1 and 2 for I equal to 3. So here the outer loop runs 3 times and the inner loop runs 2 times for each outer loop iteration. Let me add here 2 times for each outer loop iteration. So that will be more clear. Let's run the program and see the output. So here we can see the same output as we calculated. Let's have one more example so that we'll have more clarity on nested loops. So I will comment this out. Not sure why it is okay. So we will take one more example for int I equals to 1, I less than equals to 3, I plus plus, and inner loop int j equals to 1, j less than equals to 3, j plus plus, and we will print the value as star. And here we'll add one more line. Nested loops are commonly used to print patterns like stars, numbers, and shape. So the outer loop will execute for 3 times, and inner loop will also execute for 3 times, and the value is star. So the output will be 3 star in the row and star, 3 star in the row and 3 star in the column. So it will look like this. So why we are giving space in between? Since we have given space here. And why after 3 stars we are moving into next line? Because we have given print ln, which works as a next line. Okay, let's run the program and check the output. So output is not as we have calculated. Why? Because here we are giving ln, print ln. Print ln means it will print this word and go to the next line. But we don't want that. So we will remove ln. Now we will rerun the program and check the output. So here we can see. So outer loop is iterating 3 times. That means 3 rows. And inner loop is iterating 3 times, that is 3 columns, with the value star. So once you start practice and doing by yourself, you can go for different examples. We have a number of examples for different star patterns, and nested loops are commonly used to print patterns like stars, and instead of stars there will be numbers and so on. So the uses of nested loops are pattern printing, matrix operations, table generation, processing rows and columns. So nested loops are widely used in pattern programs, matrix calculations, and situations involving rows and columns. So let's quickly summarize what we learned so far. So nested loops are loop inside another loop, and inner loop runs for each outer loop iteration, and it is useful for patterns and matrices. So we learned about nested loops, their syntax, and common use cases. That's all for this video. I hope this tutorial helped you understand nested loops. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.